KFI AM 640 is later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Instagram. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. And here's a quick update. It's been a whole 24 hours, and we've not received a declination email from Arnold Robinson regarding Eddie Murphy. So we're still in the hunt. We're still in the hunt. We've never gotten this far in the game. You know how you go to uncharted territory in a video game? It's like, I don't know what to do now. We've never gotten this far. Well, we're further in the game than ever before. They haven't turned us down as of yet, because usually Arnold will hit us back immediately inside of an hour or two with an email saying Eddie is not available to participate. So
I'm having a flashback to the Dumb and Dumber movie where Jim Carrey says, so that's not a no?
Are you on our team or not?
So you're saying there's a chance. Oh, I want this to happen for you because you're obsessed.
And we're
yes, I am.
And the hashtag, what's the hashtag again? You guys were talking about it last night.
Waiting for Eddie.
Hashtag waiting for Eddie.
Like waiting for Godot.
Really?
Yes. Waiting for Eddie.
Momigos, you know what to do.
You can see it right now if you tune into the YouTube show. You can see it, Waiting for Eddie, day one. We have 1 day in. Now, it doesn't mean that we'll get any response at all.
That's okay? Awesome. I just saw that.
It doesn't mean that, but at least for now.
That's so cool.
As far as I'm concerned, we're still in the running. We have not been eliminated from contention. Fingers still crossed. So we'll have a Waiting for Eddie update each day until they tell us no, if they tell us no. But coming up later on the show tonight, get ready. The heat wave is coming to California, and we have to prepare accordingly. That means prepare for yourself, prepare for your pets, prepare for the elderly, anyone in your household. We'll have some information for that. Along those lines, hospitals are also preparing. We have an LA Metro update, and let me give you the short end of it. It's not good, and people don't feel safe. There it is. We'll tell you more in just a moment at the bottom of the hour. And what would you do if you're on a flight and it gets diverted because someone's pet falls ill? I don't know how I would respond. If I'm on a nonstop flight from there to Los Angeles and all of a sudden we stop off in maybe, I don't know, Minneapolis because someone's dog got sick. We'll tell you about that before the hour's through. It's Tech Thursday with Marsha Collier. She'll be joining us, and she has an update in technology, audio technology. Get this, vinyl records are outselling CDs. Is that significant? We'll find out. And also, American Airlines has announced touchless ID program. Well, why do I have this real ID then if I don't have to touch? We'll get into it. And here we go, Mark. If you go to a party, you know, like a wine and cheese party, a mixer.
Yeah, I go to a ton of wine and cheese parties.
Appetizers.
You know me so well.
Do you ever take your potato chip, dip it, take a bite, and then dip that same chip back in the dip?
No, that's grounds for immediate excommunication from all your friends.
You're not cool with double dipping?
You can double dip with maybe your spouse, your significant other, but that's it. Or your kids.
Tuwala, are you down with double dipping?
I don't even know about that, Mark.
Really?
Nope. I will tell my kids, here, you can have your own. Do not put your chip in my food. I will pour some onto your plate. Have your own. Don't dip into mine.
What about
and if you double dip, whew.
Well, okay, so in polite society outside the family, absolutely not. You're a filthy animal if you do that. But like when you were married, would you not like take a bite out of the same sandwich as your wife?
Oh no.
You know things that piss me off.
No.
The whole thing of can I have some of yours?
No.
Why didn't you just order some when I said you can have some?
No.
Look,
Don't get sidetracked.
That's
a whole separate issue. So let's stay focused. Just on sharing germs. That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about sharing germs. There are times that I will share germs with my wife.
Right.
You know what?
But if I'm at like a public function, and let's say I'm at a fight party, and we're going to get into this in depth in the second hour. But if I'm at a fight party and there's a bowl of chips and dip, and everyone, look, I have a problem with people just putting their dirty ass hands in the chips. That's number one.
Absolutely. Yeah, use tongs. You've got to use tongs.
Right. And put it on your plate, and then you take it from your plate.
Yes.
Let's say I take it from my plate, and I put it in the dip, the community dip. And I take a bite of that chip, and there's still chip in my hand. I am not allowed by law, biblical law, to put that same chip back in that dip.
You might get slapped.
Okay, but there's now research out that double dipping scientifically may not lead to germ spread.
I don't care.
We're going to get into it in hour 2. So keep your powder dry. And also the sex doctor is in, which might be just like a carryover, because if you mess up on the double dipping, you may not be getting any later on. So just want to keep that in mind. The sex doctor, Sam Zia, is in, and he will join us tonight. And we have an ongoing conversation in a way about cannabis. You know that I'm not a fan. And when I say I'm not a fan, invariably someone will email me. Someone will reach out to me in messages. Sometimes it's a text message, someone I personally know. Someone will send me a message on Instagram. And invariably they will tell me, it's like, well, Mo, you know that cannabis is safer than alcohol. It's non-addictive and doesn't have the health thing. It won't necessarily be as unhealthy as alcohol. Well, I've always argued that we have not had the body of study, long-term impact of use of marijuana, if only because relatively recently have we had it legalized where you could effectively study it and the use of it over the period of years and even a generation.
Yep.
Some of that information is in, and it's not good for you daily cannabis users. We'll tell you about that
Mark
before the
Rana.
show.
Wait a minute. Is this from Doctors Cheech and or Chong? Where are you getting this?
No,
It's
Mark
from
Rana.
Dr. RFK Jr.
Yeah. Yeah, we know how reliable that is.
No, it's actually from a study. I don't know how legitimate it is. You can come to your own conclusion.
Look, Mark is going to be against it.
What are you talking about? How am I suddenly the spokesmodel for this?
Puff, puff, pass, Mr. Rana.
Edible.
Of the
Chew,
four of
chew,
us,
chew.
of the 4 of us on this show,
Yes.
which one of us looks like a stoner?
We're talking about looks like a stoner. We're talking about who is a stoner.
Wait, but you.
Looks is.
I will not be scapegoated in this
Stefan?
fashion.
Now,
Do you
now,
indulge,
now,
Stefan?
you and Foosh could do a Cheech and Chong.
Oh, come on.
Stefan,
we
do you-
could.
do you
Move on.
indulge?
Yeah, I used to vape, but it started to affect my throat, so I switched to edibles.
Okay.
There you go.
Mark,
What?
do you indulge?
I believe in the law. That's all I'm going to say.
We know it's legal.
It is the law.
Your Honor, permission to treat as a hostile witness.
Asked and answered. I've been in depositions.
Your Honor,
He's already admitted to it before.
This is not a deposition.
When you say your honor, are you calling my name? It's like you're saying your honor. Yes, I'm.
We're not giving you
Move
a
on.
honor. We're saying your honor.
Your honor, move on.
you are not the judge in this trial. You're not the presiding.
I've just declared myself.
Your
the
name's
judge,
not on the show, my
and,
friend.
you're out of order. You're all out of order.
You are insane.
You can't handle the truth.
The whole system's out of order.
Who are you, Nino Brown?
He's hiding from the law.
I will not go along with this railroading that you're attempting.
It's later with Mo Kelly. We have a Heatwave update when we come back, and it is day 1 officially of waiting for Eddie, as in Murphy. KFI AM 640 live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app, on YouTube, looking at you right now, and also on Instagram. Now to Mark Runner in the KFI 24-hour newsroom.
Here's the latest. A dog has been found dead.
The weather was kind of weird today, or at least where I'm living. KFI AM 640, YouTube, Instagram, iHeartRadio app. It's later with Mo Kelly. When I was waking up and over the course of the early part of the day, it was kind of overcast. It was cool. I was wondering, like, am I going to put on my spring clothes? Or am I going to put on my winter clothes? And then I saw the news report that it's going to be real hot. And I knew it was going to be hotter, but I couldn't reconcile what was going on in my neighborhood versus what we're supposed to be getting ready to experience. And at least one California hospital is preparing for a surge in patients presenting with heat-related illness as a heat wave is coming all across this state. Now, the National Weather Service has already issued a guidance ahead of the surge in temperatures this weekend, and it varies inland versus the coastline and so forth. But we told you about Antelope Valley and other places which are going to be over 100 degrees this weekend. I bet you didn't know this. I didn't know this, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to pass it on. Did you know that extreme heat causes more than 1,200 deaths in the U.S. each year? Just the heat. I'm not talking about the extreme winter. We know about the cold and how people will die during the winter. But sometimes we forget about the extreme heat all around the country. We talked yesterday how dry heat may feel differently than the humidity of the East Coast, the Midwest, and the South. Nonetheless, 102 is 102, and there'll be a lot of areas in Southern California and Central California which will top 100 degrees. Now, I can't speak for the totality of the weather. Maybe Mark Ronner knows. If not, it's okay.
Oh, thank you for that. What's the question, Morris?
Had to pull up my
Always got to say the government.
I want clarification, please.
Okay, William. For those who don't know, he and I have the same middle name or something like that.
Yes.
The question was, beyond California, or I should say maybe just in California, am I accurate in sharing the information that we should expect 100-degree temperatures over some of Southern California and Central California?
Yeah, it's going to be hot until Sunday. Sunday we'll get, I think, maybe a 10-degree break.
Okay. All right. So if you have plans, please keep in mind if you're going to be outside or you're going to be with people who would be more susceptible to the heat, you have to be mindful of the temperatures which you'll be experiencing definitely on Saturday. And hospitals are preparing for the likelihood of people who are not prepared for the heat, who end up having to go to the hospital because of heat exhaustion or heat stroke or some combination thereof. And it can be very dangerous. And you may think that, oh, it's just maybe 90, 95 degrees. But let's say you're a little bit older. Let's say you haven't had enough water to drink. That's something else that I swear by. I only drink water with my meals, something that helps me from getting dehydrated. And let's say you're someone who likes to maybe go to a baseball game. You may go to a baseball game. You have a beer or two and you're sitting out in the sun and you're not drinking water. Next thing you know, you are suffering from heat exhaustion and dehydration. And you see it whenever I go to a Dodgers game. Invariably, I will see someone, especially if it's a hot day, being carted away on a stretcher because they most likely had some beer or some alcohol in that sun. And then you're out there for 2 hours or 3 hours. The next thing you know, they're having to call the paramedics. So this is something that you must be mindful of in advance. And it doesn't take a lot. And it's something I do. And to all of you see me, I drink nothing but water. I'll get the occasional Powerade because I just want some taste every now and then. But I just drink water. And you always clown me. We were talking about having the donuts and everything. What do I wash it down with? Water.
Cookies.
Yeah, right. Water.
Water.
Nice cold water with that sweet
I was going to ask.
That's normal.
So when you go out to dinner, like with your wife, and you get like a steak or something, or you get whatever you get, you still just have water?
Always water.
So not like wine
even bubbly water?
No, it's got to be flat. I don't want any type of carbonation. And it's rare that I will have wine with my meal. That's just,
okay,
I don't need to pair up my food.
Here. That's not
No, he just does water.
Yeah, I just drink water. That's
so,
it.
Like when you have like a cocktail, is it just that's on its own?
No, but I also have water alongside. If I have my
water to chase down the cocktail?
Yes, I'm being serious because I'll get my Jack Double Neat, and then I'll also have a glass of water so I'm not dehydrated at the end of the evening.
It's the dehydration that causes the hangover.
Yeah.
Mark, come on, help me out with this one.
You don't want a bit of the hangover, so you're chasing it away immediately?
If I go to sleep after having my Jack and not having an equal amount of water, that's how I wake up with feeling like I was licking the rug. And my head is swollen.
Careful.
You know, it doesn't, the carpet.
It's not better.
You're not helping.
That's not better.
No.
I'm like,
the shag?
Choose your words more carefully.
I don't know. Not when going to bed. No, this changed that altogether.
I don't know what you think you're doing.
I'm sure your wife is used to it, but did she think
Wait,
it was...
what?
Hey.
Wait, what? Foos, that's a little too personal.
Okay.
Jeez,
let's take a step back.
What are we doing?
Okay, keep my wife out of this conversation.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Somebody's getting smacked.
You were saying Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. No, I was saying she's probably used to it now that you have water all the time. But did she think that was weird?
Used to what?
Drink water with everything.
I don't think she thought it was weird because she is healthier than I am in just about everything. So
me
drinking water didn't seem strange. And it's something I actually got from my father because he would only have water at his meals. And it was something that I just kind of picked up along the way. No, I don't do like
cranberry juice.
Orange juice. Maybe when I'm on a cruise and I'm a little less stringent about what I drink. Yeah, then I'll have like a cranberry juice or orange juice at breakfast. But I don't buy the sweetened juices. I just don't. You won't find them in my house.
So you're just like that, just Mr. H2O.
Tuala, we call those juices mixers.
So,
what about homemade lemonade? Like that's fresh.
That's 4th of July. That's 4th of July.
4th of July party.
Yeah, only celebration.
And you've seen it when we come over to the house. We'll have the homemade lemonade, and my sister will bring the sangria or something. That's the time that I may partake, but I'm very conscious about not being dehydrated.
Is she the same way?
My sister?
No, your wife. Like with the water.
No, she'll have other stuff that she'll drink with her meals. She's not as strict as I am when it comes to water with meals.
So this is just you.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Why is this funny?
He just thinks it's hilarious.
It's like my mouth is just dry thinking about it.
No, this is strange because I've been waiting to mock you for your polo shirts, and these guys are zeroing in on your water consumption, which is entirely normal.
Okay, let's go to the Motown chat. The Mo Migos are talking on YouTube. Tommy Godlow says, there's so many delicious drinks out there, Mo. You're missing out. No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I would rather.
He's right.
Mario says, I'm the same way as Mo. So, okay. Mario says, I only drink water all day. Thank you, Mario.
Do you even like put the Crystal Light in your water? What about like the Crystal Light?
That's too much damn work. Let me just get the water, the filter from the refrigerator, and drink the water. I'm not trying to open up that little packet and shake it in there.
No, they have it now where you can just squirt it in. They have Crystal Light squirt.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
That's what I have.
It's not a big deal, okay? What is wrong with me just drinking water straight up? It would be different if I were an alcoholic and I drink nothing but Jack with my meals.
Water, but just with the meal, something tasty to wash it down, not just water.
I don't need something tasty. I just need something to wash it down.
Tommy Goodlove wants to know if you have water when we go to the movies. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll get a bottle of water.
Yeah, he get a bottle of water. Yeah,
that's right. He did.
Yeah. That's what he does.
That's
he
all I get.
With this water. It's weird. I don't understand it.
Not that y'all ask, but I feel compelled to defend myself. It makes other bodily functions much smoother, okay?
This is true.
I'm being very honest now.
I love that this is where Mark backs you up.
Look. Hey, watch your mouth.
This is not a position I wanted to be in, but it's where we are.
I just think, you can drink enough water in a day, but when you get to a meal, take a break. Have something tasty.
Are you one of these kind of people who has to have something sweet to drink all the time?
Yeah.
Is that the
No.
deal?
I don't have to worry about diabetes.
I have a bottle with me that I refill with water all day long. I drink at least 6 of these 16-ounce, or actually, this is actually a 20-ounce bottle. I drink about 6 of these a day. But when I sit down, I want to eat my meal. I want something tasty to go with.
Like what?
Anything, soda,
Soda,
juice.
juice.
Okay, I don't drink juices. By and large, I don't drink any soda at all.
Nah.
That's fine.
None. And my only real indulgence, and I reserve it for Saturdays, is Jack. Yeah. That's my, I'm completely down.
Jack on Saturdays. This is some type of, I don't know, like.
Look.
Are you a Mormon? I mean, what are you doing?
A Mormon.
A Mormon.
I will send your hate mail at Mr. Twala. Sure.
I will say this, though.
He's only got the one wife.
He doesn't mess around when it comes to Jack.
Yeah.
Because I drank with him once, and he...
Right, we were at the movie theater.
Yeah. So he goes pretty hard in on it, so I'll give him that. But
now he's alcoholic.
No, I'm just saying.
No. When he does have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
I told you when I was on the ship, I was like 6 Jacks in. I mean, I'm not trying to present myself as someone who's pristine.
6 is good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't like defending you, but I'm in favor of that.
Thank you very much. All right. How are you going to mock me being somewhat healthy?
No, it's just there's limits.
And then you go from 0 to 100. Like you go from water to alcohol. You don't have nothing.
No. See, Carnicia's not listening to the conversation. I said when I have my Jack, I'm chasing it with water to avoid being dehydrated.
So not even then.
It's that balance that makes the occasional drink okay to have.
Yes. I don't have hangovers. I do not for that reason.
It is so weird to see Mark and
Didn't you
Mo
learn
on
this
the
out
same
of
team.
80 years
we
of drinking?
Stop this.
Goodness, you need to get better as you get older.
Okay.
You should learn something. Don't have any hangovers. You can laugh at me all you want, but I do not have hangovers.
Hang on to your teeth. You need teeth in your old age.
That's right. And I don't. Here's another thing for you
Is this
young
where we're
drinkers.
at?
No, look, we got to go to break. I know. For the young drinkers out there, don't get bogged down with these mixers. Okay, if you're going to get these exotic drinks with all this sugar and that's how you get sick.
That'll mess you up.
That's how you get hangovers. You want to go straight to the alcohol, mainline the alcohol, not the mixers. That's why I get Jack Neat. You don't need Jack and Coke. It's extra sugar.
He's right.
Wow.
My
Thank you,
God.
Mr. Runner.
My God.
I mean, you guys sound like two old men sitting in a
But
movie
enjoying
theater or something.
our drinks, that's for sure.
Look at these kids. They don't know how to drink.
They don't. They don't.
What is happening?
Tommy Godlove says Mo must have a gallon of water next to his bed at night. No, it's only 16 ounces. It's not a gallon. Laugh all you want. It's okay. I'm not sensitive. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640, live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. Of course, you can hear we're talking to the folks in Motown, the Mo Migos. They have their comments. We'll read your comments live on air. Next, Mark Runner has news, specifically for the show, where we'll have a conversation on air, and it carries off air in the hallway. So we will add those to the YouTube special so you can see that in addition to the live broadcast. But we were so far over last segment, it's going to truncate this segment, but I have to get to this. We talk about Metro. We talk about safety or lack thereof. And I tell people all the time, safety is a feeling. It's not something which is tangible. You could do X, you could do Y, you could do Z, and people either feel safe or they don't. And the feeling of lack of safety or security is not invalid. It doesn't mean that Metro may not be trying everything they can. They're not there yet. But I'm saying one doesn't necessarily dictate the other. Here's a perfect example of that. Or like before when they talked about the safety or the crime statistics and they say, hey, crime is down 5%. And I said, well, can someone feel 5% safer? Either you feel safe or you don't. You don't have varying levels of feelings of safety. Feel safe or you don't. This is what I mean. Let's say that you're a high school student, a young person, an adolescent, like David Aguirre. He has an hour and a half commute between South LA and Roosevelt High School in Boyle Heights, where he goes to school. This is what David had to say. Quote, using public transportation, I feel unsafe. It's unsanitized. Who said that? Who has been saying that all the time? That's me. He goes on. He's 17, by the way. There's always crime happening around, and as a student, it feels really dangerous. David seems very mature for his age. Again, he said, there's always crime happening around, and as a student, it feels really dangerous, close quote. I have always said that you need to have the Metro Police Force. You need to have an officer, if possible, on the buses, on the trains, on the platforms. Does that eliminate crime? Absolutely not. But you are increasing what I would call the safety quotient. You're doing as much as possible to increase the likelihood of having an eventless journey. In other words, something where nothing happens, where you don't have an incident, where you don't have a criminal episode, and you're doing all that you can as Metro to increase the safety quotient, or you're mitigating the crime, you're mitigating the times in which people are going to be made uncomfortable or going to be harassed. That's all that you can do. Metro is not at that point. They've been implementing half measures. They're doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, nibbling around the edges. They're not doing all they can, which would help people, say it with me, feel safer. And if you're a young person, going back to David Aguirre in this story, I can empathize and understand where he's coming from. Let's say you're going to school and you have your school computer. Depending on the school you go, you might be given one of those Chromebooks that you're responsible for. That's a value. That makes you a target. Let's say you have your own, MP3 player or your own phone. Those things are valuable. That makes you a target. I understand, especially with any gang activity, why you would feel uncomfortable being on Metro. And he also details where a lot of his classmates and other people his age, they also either this is my interpretation. They're carrying weapons or some sort of deterrent for would-be harassers, people who try to victimize them. If he's 17 and feels unsafe when he is physically more adept than most people to protect himself, how do you think a 45-year-old woman would feel? How do you think a 60-year-old woman would feel? How would you, as a mother who has 2 children with her, feel? We're talking about feeling safe. All these things work together. The only way that you're going to change how safe people feel is making sure that people know that you're doing everything within your power, Metro, to make people safer. And then, after a protracted length of time, then riders can begin to feel safer. If I told you that you're getting on an airplane and that airliner is not doing everything they can to make sure that you're going to arrive safely at your destination, would you feel safe? Absolutely not. If you knew fundamentally that such and such airlines is not doing everything within its power to make sure that the plane you get on and the pilots who are at the controls are doing everything they can to make sure that you safely arrive at your next destination, there's no way in the world that you will ever feel safe. Now, they can tell you, hey, we're checking our planes once every 2 weeks. Or they can say, hey, we hired the top mechanics. But if you know they're not doing everything, you will never feel completely safe. There is some commonality here. There is a point of comparison. Because we know that Metro's not doing everything in its power as of yet to make sure everyone feels safe. And the security component is inextricably linked to the Metro Transit Authority, which is supposed to be on the Metro PD, which needs to be on these trains, on these buses, on these platforms. Not until then, and only then, will people begin to start feeling safer, just like young David Guerra, and not a moment before. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you can go to Motown and hang out with the other Momigos. Send us some comments, and we'll read some of them on the air. And they're getting really out of control right about now. No, I'm not going to read that, the creamy one. No, I'm not going to read that on the air. But send us some nice comments. We'll read them on the air. Join in the fun. Join in the show. Now, let's go to Mark Ronner in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. KFI is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. And imagine this. Let's say you're on a flight from Detroit to Los Angeles on Memorial Day. In other words, you're traveling probably home for the holiday weekend to close out the holiday. And most likely, if you're flying Detroit to LA, that is a nonstop. You're thinking when you get on the plane, you're going to stay on the plane until you reach your destination. But Delta Flight 694 departed Detroit around 5:30 p.m. and was scheduled to arrive at LAX 5 hours later. That's a nonstop flight. But the flight ended up detouring to Minneapolis due to a medical emergency. Well, you think, yeah, I could understand that. If someone fell ill on the flight and they needed immediate medical attention, of course, you would probably detour to the nearest place that you could land and then have paramedics handle and help that person. The crew, though, on this flight was informed that a dog on the flight had become ill, and a veterinarian who happened to be on board was assisting with its care. Ultimately, the decision was made to divert the plane to the nearest major airport so the pet and its owner could deplane. Medical personnel were on the ground waiting for the plane's arrival, met the dog and its owner after they deboarded, and a diversion delayed 181 passengers and 6 crew members for more than 2 hours. And here is the question. It's a very simple and basic one. Would you be upset? Would you be understanding? Would you be sympathetic? Mind you, you thought you were on a nonstop flight. And there's a distinct possibility that not everyone on this flight was going to end their trip in LA. If you've ever flown before, you'll fly in LA, and some people go on to Seattle, they'll go on to San Diego, they'll go on to San Francisco, or maybe even Phoenix, depending on the airline and the route. I know a lot of people were inconvenienced. Now, it's one thing when I would tell you that it had to do with a person, but we're talking about someone's dog. And I say this as a dog owner. I don't know how I would feel as a traveler because I paid for the nonstop. Now we would have to ask the question now, did the airline offer any, I don't know, discount? Did they give like some sort of rebate, a free flight? This is Delta. What do they do to compensate the passengers who were inconvenienced? Because I'm thinking you have to do something for the people you inconvenience. I'm not blaming the dog. I'm not even blaming the owner of the dog. I'm saying that as a business, if I pay for a nonstop flight and I don't get that nonstop flight and I'm getting in 2 hours later and possibly I miss my connection, you got to do something for me, right? I love the dog, but you got to do something for me. I didn't want to spend an extra 2 hours in Minneapolis. I've been to Minneapolis. There ain't nothing there. There's nothing in Minneapolis. There's a mall. That's it. There's a Target headquarters. Not much else. I don't want to go to Minneapolis. The last time I was in Minneapolis was 2008, and that was for the RNC. That's the last time. That was the first and last time I've been to Minneapolis. Nothing special there. And I know if I'm flying from Detroit to LA, I would like to fly nonstop, 5 hours. And then it turned into an 8-hour trip. Am I being unreasonable here? Am I being unfair here? Because on my ticket, it says I'm going straight to LA. And I know stuff happens. The dog got sick. And you had a veterinarian who confirmed the dog is sick. That being said, not my problem. Not my problem. I'd be feeling like I'm Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies. Is that being unfair? I don't think so. Is that being heartless? Is that being cruel? Because if we diverted every time someone got sick, not deathly ill, but sick, there would be a real problem with airline travel. I don't know. I just have to say the dog is just going to have to tough it out for another 3.5 hours. What's the worst that could happen? Okay, it dies. But I mean, it's going to take at least another 2 hours before they got that dog to a dog hospital. Delta would owe me some money. That much I do know. That much I do know. And that's part of the reason, serious point, that's part of the reason why I do not fly with my dogs. I do not. Because I'm not going to put my dogs in that position, and I'm not going to put fellow passengers in that position. And I've noticed when I get on planes now, everybody and their mama wants to bring their dog on the plane. That's a new phenomenon. I never experienced anything like that. And I'm not talking about service dogs. I'm talking about their pet Rover. And they'll put them, and some are not even in like any type of container. They're just on the plane, sitting where you put your luggage under the seat. Some dogs are very well behaved. Some are not. Some are not. And I'd have to think, I didn't pay for that. Air travel is getting more and more uncomfortable. And we've gotten more and more permissive when we fly. All I know is if you bring your dog on and your dog gets sick, that's on you. You made that decision. Don't penalize me. It's later with Mo Kelly. Tech Thursday. Let's check in with Marsha Collier and find out what's the latest with vinyl and CDs, and also American Airlines and their touchless ID program. That's next. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app.
Perfect for achy, indecisive.
iHeartRadio app. It's now time for Tech Thursday with Marsha Collier, who joins us in studio. Marsha, it's always great to see you. How are you this evening?
Oh, great. You were talking water.
Yes.
Room temperature,
yes.
No ice.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you very much.
That's it.
You need to school these youngins out there.
It's good. It's
Extol
good
the virtues of water.
No, really, water is great. You know what's even greater?
What's that?
A vinyl album.
I can't disagree with that. Go ahead with that.
Well, what was interesting, vinyl sales are trending up. In 2023, 4.3 million records were sold in the U.S. versus 37 million CDs.
I wonder, though, what place CDs have in today's society. In other words, I understand why people want vinyl. They still have utility. DJs will still use them. Collectors will still buy them. I don't know where CDs fall into this category of why people would buy them.
They're slipping between the seats right now. They really are.
Mm-hmm.
People who are paying for downloads, they only accounted for 434 million, which is less than a third of the sales of vinyl records.
I get it. It makes sense. I mean, why am I going to pay for a download when I can listen to it on Spotify? I can find it on YouTube. For someone who's under the age of 30, they don't know, Marsha, the importance for us liner notes, or, who played the instrument on this song or who wrote the track. All that other information that we would find on liner notes, I don't think young people care about that.
Well, let's break this down. People, first of all, we can always argue sound, because sound on a CD is encoded digitally.
And compressed. Yeah.
And it's not what you play one vinyl next to a CD, and it's...
For those who don't know, if you have the opportunity to listen to a vinyl album single in headphones, you get to hear this dynamic range. The highs are high, the lows are lows. There's a mid-range. You get to hear the fullness of the sound and the recording, whereas on an MP3 or a WAV file, it's compressed and it's all pushed together. In headphones, you can really hear the difference.
In a John Williams movie theme, it will sound totally different, because
Agreed.
Great music needs vinyl. But then again, Mo kind of mentioned about liner notes, and you may not know what liner notes are. So when we get albums, and they still do this today if you are a person who gets a vinyl album, on the other side, you have a beautiful piece of artwork normally. I have a wall at my house where I have a Janis Joplin, I have the first Beatles album, I have like 8 albums, Jimi Hendrix, and they're all
You're
on the
just
wall.
showing off now.
I'll send you the picture. And I love them, but the records are in there, so I can't play them, but at least they're not warping. But the thing is, on the other side, when you're sitting there with friends and you say, I want to hear some Jimi Hendrix, you pull it out, and then you find, look, my third cousin was playing trumpet on that tune, because everybody was credited. You learned about all the people.
But then again, I know the response is, well, I have Wikipedia. I can just type in who is the songwriter, who is the guitarist. I'm quite sure that would be the response to it. But there is something to be said for the tactile availability of a physical liner note to, as you're listening to something, to read about it and also learn something about it beyond what is Googleable on the internet. I appreciate that. But there's also something else. For as much as we may say that vinyl is eclipsing CDs as far as sales, I understand why people would still prefer the MP3 or the Spotify or YouTube, because that audio, even though compressed, doesn't degrade.
But sometimes people want to support the artists.
Well, Spotify is not supporting the artists.
What was it? Weird Al once said that 80 million streams could earn him $12.
No exaggeration.
Mm-hmm.
No exaggeration.
And that's ridiculous. So, I mean, you support an artist. Taylor Swift made up to 7% of all vinyl albums in 23. So think of that. Swifties want to support her. She isn't making it on the downloads.
Where do you think, from your knowledge of tech, where might this go? Is this a fad? Is this a trend? Or is this portending that vinyl is going to be coming back in a big way for a considerably longer period of time?
I think, like fine Swiss watches, I think it will become an art form even more so. I mean, like Taylor Swift, think about it. She'll release the same album in different colors and sell them to the same people.
You made a great analogy there, and I don't want you to skip by that. You think of a fine Swiss watch, it's analog, it's not digital. It's usually made of more valuable materials. It's not plastic, it's not aluminum.
Yeah.
Has much more staying power. It's going to be around physically longer than the watches that most people wear today.
Exactly. And the watches, Patek Philippe, I mean, you think of Rolex, you think of brands like that. They're not going away. They thought they would. Oh, the Apple Watch came out and everybody's going to have...
Tag Heuer.
Yeah, exactly. And people never gave them up. They're
Citizen.
They're
I'm saying, I remember some great watches.
Weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they're worth a lot of money today if you come across them at garage sales.
Movado.
I got so angry at Movado. I had Movado was my first fancy watch. It broke.
Mine too.
And that same one with the circle.
Yes, the circle top.
Yeah.
Basic black face.
Yeah. And it broke. And I called them. Oh, we're not making that watch anymore. We don't have parts for it. I said, how dare you? That was my first big investment in a watch.
They were not cheap. That much I do know. And it was a status symbol, but everyone would recognize a Movado when you saw a Movado.
Looked so cool.
When we come back, let's talk about American Airlines. They've announced this touchless ID program, and I'm thinking, why would I want a touchless ID if I have a real ID? Is it going to work in concert with that, or is it something else? I'm quite sure Marsha Collier will be able to separate it and explain it to us on the other side. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640, we're live on YouTube. You can see us right now. We're live on Instagram. You can see us there, and you can hear us as we're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Mark, later with Mo Kelly and Marsha Collier. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. Marsha, let's get right back into it. American Airlines has announced this touchless ID program. What is it? How does it work? And what does it mean against the backdrop of real ID?
Well, first of all, it won't be just American Airlines. It's anyone who has TSA PreCheck can benefit by this.
That's me.
And American Airlines is the first to put it in action at limited airports. Right now they have it, let me see, at Dulles, Ronald Reagan, LaGuardia, Hartsfield, Atlanta, and Salt Lake City.
It's interesting you say Ronald Reagan National, which is in the heart of Washington, D.C. It's a very difficult airport to get a flight into. That matters because most of the time when I go to D.C., I fly into Dulles because that's about the only time I can get flights into D.C. that are reasonable. Yeah,
well, this will be great. So let me explain to everybody. I'm sure everybody's heard of Clear.
Yep.
Okay. Clear is something you pay for, and they verify your ID before you get on the plane, and they walk you over to TSA PreCheck so that you can get ahead of the line. What is TSA PreCheck? You apply for TSA PreCheck online. It's like a 6-page application.
Yes, it is.
Then you get called, and it asks everything you don't want people to know. And then you're called in for an interview.
Yes, they do.
In person. With a security person. And I had forgotten that I had been to Canada, because to me, Canada is the U.S.
Because they ask all about your travel, if you've left the country, where you've been, how long, and so forth.
Because I travel extensively, and I got an extra long interview. But anyway, what TSA PreCheck allows you to do is when you're going on a plane, you'll see that line says TSA PreCheck. All your ID, because you've gone through this, you get to go in, you get to get on the plane, you don't have to take off your shoes. You generally don't have to take your laptop out. Now, the icing on the cake, TSA PreCheck costs $78 for 5 years. Then you get the golden pass to me, which is global entry. Global entry works if you've ever gone out of this country.
Yep.
When you get into the U.S., there are these lines. It looks like Ellis Island on a bad day, if you've ever seen the old videos. If you have global entry,
you bypass it. I could be very arrogant when I have my global entry. I kind of like just wave at the peons. It's like, I'm not going to wait in the line. You can bypass that getting through customs. It is wonderful.
You just walk in right behind the crew.
Yes.
Usually.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, hey, and the nice man says, you got anything to declare?
Nope.
I usually say, I declare.
No, I have nothing. I bought nothing. I'm doing nothing wrong, and I'm not on the run. And it gets me through.
Always. And they take your picture as you go through, because there's a little machine. You put your passport on, Bingo, it's done. It is faster than mobile entry with your passport if you use that app to get into the United States. That is very valuable and doesn't cost a penny. So that's a TSA app that you can get for no money at all. But global entry is gold because it helps you even when you arrive in another country. So what touchless ID is going to do is when you first use touchless ID, you get your photo taken as you get to the TSA agent because you already have TSA pre-check, right?
Right.
So you don't have to put out driver's license, passport, that little card with the star. None of that nonsense. The system will then compare your picture that they just took to the hundreds of thousands of pictures they already have of you. And don't kid yourself. If you
They have them.
I don't want the government to have my picture.
They
I felt that way. And then one day I'm standing in London and I'm looking at the buildings and the cameras are friggin' everywhere. Yes. And I went to New York. Cameras everywhere. How do you think they catch criminals these days?
Don't go to South Korea. They have more cameras than that. They're everywhere.
When I checked in Shanghai, don't they take all the pictures and the retinal scans?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's maybe indicative of Asia. It is a camera society everywhere.
They kind of make the best ones.
No, but I'm saying, being in the country, citizens are basically conditioned and understand and accept that wherever you go, there is some level of surveillance.
And you have given your fingerprints before. They don't change as you get older. So they have your fingerprints. They have pictures of you in stages of development from when you were getting braces. So they can identify you really easy with today's technology. And all you do is now you just walk right in. They just take your picture and you walk right in. Now, if you would like to avail yourself of this and you are on American Airlines and you have TSA PreCheck, go to the American Airlines site on a computer, no mobile device. It'll take you a second. You log in and go to the information and password section of your profile. It's easy to find. Then click the box next to opt in to TSA Touchless ID. Click. Bingo. You're in. And you'll have to renew every year. And I'm telling you, a lot of credit cards do pay the fees for TSA PreCheck and for global entry. If this is something you can get if you're planning a trip, no matter what, global entry, like I said, that's platinum, and TSA PreCheck is gold. It makes your airport experience 1,000 times better.
I co-sign. I have both, and I would recommend them to anyone and everyone.
And by the way, they do give you a little global entry card.
Yep.
Which you don't need a real ID when you have that, and it doesn't have your home address on it.
Nope.
Think about that. When you have a real ID, you're showing your address to whoever you're showing your card to. Real federal government IDs, where they've checked you out, do not put your home address on it. So the TSA PreCheck, the mobile passport card, which is also good for ID, does not have your home address on it. Think about it.
Marsha Collier, you always give us great advice, usable advice. Very quickly, how can people find you to follow up if they want more advice?
I'm on Twitter. My website is marshacollier.com. And usually once a week, somebody emails me with a tech problem, and I help them work through it. So I love the emails, and I'll fight you, and we'll find the answers.
I like it how you're available, you're accessible, your information is relatable, digestible, all those things, and why we enjoy having you here every single week.
Thank you, Mo. And Android Smartphones for Seniors for Dummies is on sale, and it's really a good book.
See you next week.
You bet.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're going to go into party fouls when we come back. And is double dipping okay now? According to some, but not to me. We'll tell you about it next. Double dipping has a long history connected to social etiquette. It's one of those things that you just don't do, or at least historically. But now it seems on a scientific level, there is evidence, or data, I should say, to suggest that it doesn't necessarily spread germs in the way that you and I have been taught or what we believe. For me, it doesn't make any difference. There are certain things you shouldn't do. You should not bite a chip and then put that same chip with the bitten edge into the dip to then scoop and bite it again. Now, it's more than about germs per se. It's about it being inappropriate, and I think it is insensitive to other people, because I always think, here's the easiest way to think about social etiquette. It's not okay for you to do if it's not okay for everyone to do. And would you want everyone double dipping in that same dip? Hells to the no. Now, Stefan, I like you as a person. Mark, on occasion, I like him as a person.
But
I would rather you didn't double dip if we're at the same party or if we're at the same, tub of dip that we're having to rely on.
you're not going to have to worry about that with me. I would shame somebody if I saw them doing it anywhere.
Okay, this is one of those things where, like, I always say, get the easy ones right. I don't give a damn what the Washington Post or any type of scientific study has to say. Look, I am going to disavow any supposed fact which is coming this way. My eyes are good enough.
Yeah.
If I see you double dipping, we're gonna have a misunderstanding.
It's just disrespectful.
It's gross. Would you lick off an ice cream cone somebody else was using?
No.
Yeah, yes, it's the right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And it's not like it's only like just a little tiny minuscule amount of germs. It's the principle.
Yeah.
This is like the movie Friday. We're talking about principalities here.
Yeah, I don't care if it's trace elements or a whole mouthful of spit. I don't want any of it at all. I want to be in control of other people's fluids and germs that I take in.
I'll give you another example. I love my wife, okay?
Sure you do.
No, I do.
If you say so.
But there are things that I would rather not share with my wife. In other words, if she were to take her fork, put it in my food, and then try to feed me with her fork, number one, stay out my plate. First and foremost.
Stay out my plate, yeah.
Stay out my plate.
Really?
Really.
With your wife?
Really.
That's a little psychotic.
I don't like that. No. And she'll tell you in a heartbeat.
Listen,
not to do that.
That's weird. Okay, that's weird.
No, I don't want to get too graphic here, but if you've
And we have.
I know where you're going.
And we have, but I'm just saying,
don't get too precious about a fork.
Look,
Okay?
no. Look, there are understandings when you're
There are
doing
boundaries.
things that are extracurricular. But to me, if I have a cup in front of me, if I'm drinking my juice or whatever I'm drinking,
Out of your sippy cup,
out
yes?
of my sippy cup,
yeah.
and anyone I'm dating decides, oh, let me taste it. What does that taste like? They say, I'm going to push the cup back over to them and say, oh, no, you can go on and finish that.
And I hope they don't date
go
you
on and
again.
finish
I,
that.
I hope they leave you,
can
after
keep that filthy mouth swabbed cup
right,
and drink the
let me
rest
go
of
to
it.
the-
But this
to
is
chat.
somebody. Wait, just a second. This is somebody who you're going to have an open mouth kiss with at some point.
Exactly, Mark.
Why
Exactly.
the hell do you care?
Hold on. Let me break it down, okay? First, Riri says in the Motown chat, I will not bite off a sandwich already bitten. Either will I.
Yeah, no.
Either that's a no.
Well, if it's some dude
You're
you
not a
don't know on a
stranger.
park
part
bench,
of it. The first is it's boundaries. Number one, and two, yes. Twala I think said it best. Extracurriculars, you're letting down some boundaries, but outside of extracurriculars, it's a hell's no.
you both need urgent
That's
mental help.
hell's
Okay,
no.
see, that's weird because I can see Tawala's point if it's like a brand new relationship.
Okay, let me put it this way. We're all thinking it. Just because I put my tongue in someone's mouth doesn't mean that I want you eating off my plate and I'm just going to eat off your fork. No.
So weird.
I have put my mouth all over a significant other's body in all types of places. And if afterwards we are sitting and eating and she decides to take a bite, I'm like, you can go on and finish that. You can go on and finish all of that.
You are floridly insane.
I might be. I might have
Might
had
be.
my tongue in places that it shouldn't be.
Okay.
But I still don't
No,
want
All right.
you started. You were saying we're insane.
That's how far it is. It goes for me. I want you to understand. Don't double dip in front of me. Don't try to get
No.
a bite of what I've
No.
had. Get your own.
Here, let's just
straight up.
Let's play this out like a
Y'all are
Mad Lib.
mean.
If you've ever put your blank in someone's blank, or it's like
Yes.
a match game.
Correct.
then you can't get too precious
No,
about
I
a fork or double
promise you
dipping.
I can. If I'm eating a chicken wing, you cannot say, "Let me have a bite," and think I'm gonna get it back. If I'm sitting sucking on a lollipop, you can't say, "Let me get a lick." Hell to the no.
Who wants to share a
Preach,
chicken
Wallace.
wing,
Mark,
first of all?
Mark, what you're literally saying is, you know what? You've
There
been
are no
chewing
boundaries.
that gum for a little bit. Let
Right.
me go on and finish it off.
Right.
That's what you just
not-
said.
that's not
That's
the-
exactly what I
That's
hear.
not the same thing.
No, yes, it is.
It
You're saying
absolutely
because
is.
You're arguing, and let me just boil it down to its
Okay.
With children.
smallest components. Because you do this, you should be okay with that.
Slippery
It just-
slope. That's
it
a
doesn't-
fallacy.
No, it doesn't.
No,
it doesn't work
not
that way.
necessarily. It's just the fact that like you're able to exchange fluids, but you can't have a bite of the sandwich.
Wait, so no, isn't exchanging gum exchanging fluids?
But
But you see that
No,
that's
no,
a
no.
problem
See, you see,
because it bothers you, right?
Right.
no, because that's different.
How is it different?
Because let's say you just
Your
made,
mouth to her mouth.
Let's just say you made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So
Okay.
you take a bite and they want a bite. That's it.
It's not coming back to me.
See, that's weird.
If I bite it and then she takes a bite of it, it's done.
That's your sandwich now.
That is so
I
weird.
hope you enjoy the sandwich that I made. Finich it off,
Oh
babe.
my
Do
god.
you guys walk
hey,
around your
boo,
houses in
finish that off.
hazmat suits? What do you do?
You know what? You know what, Mark?
Yeah.
You, of
Double
all
dipping
people,
Double
should
dipping
be on this side.
is
You know
still,
about germs.
Double dipping is connected to the principle. It's not about whether there are actual germs. It's about boundaries. And I have to allow you to cross that boundary. When you're talking about sexual or romantic contact, there is an agreement, a mutual agreement in that moment that we're allowing those boundaries to fall.
Oh, okay. So when you're not actually in the moment of sexual intercourse with your wife,
Stay the frick out my plate.
don't touch my food. Don't touch the food.
Don't
Correct.
touch my
See,
plate.
but
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, but here's the thing: if you guys just don't like people taking your food, I get that. That's like the boundaries, like you were saying. But if you're using sanitation as an argument, that's where I'm like, that's
it
weird.
has nothing to do with sanitation. It has to do with the fact that I don't want your germy mouth touching my gumbo. And I'm telling you, I'm eating a bowl of gumbo, or a girl comes around and says, "Oh, that looks good. Let me get a bite." Sure, I'll make you a bowl.
You would
Sure thing. I will make you your own bowl. There
Wait,
you go, babe.
Even gumbo?
Even gumbo.
Yes.
Point of
Here's
clarification
your
here.
own.
You're dating or married to somebody and they just want a spoonful of your gumbo and you say, go to hell, get your own.
No,
No,
we'll
no,
give us-
I don't say go to hell, get your own. I say, here you go. Here's your own bowl.
It's the same thing.
You know what?
That is
you
really-
may think so, and
But you'd be wrong.
That's in your own little world.
Oh my
Okay, now we can finally disagree, Mark, because Tuala and I are all the way on the same side here.
Yeah,
You're
apparently
all the way.
Us
You're all
against-
the way certifiable.
Us and Carnisha against you.
That's okay.
It's
No.
just not
Carnation can get her own, too.
romantic. Where's
I don't
the
wanna-
romance?
I don't wanna hear about your
you know?
romance.
It's
You
not
want
about
a sandwich?
romance.
Ask me to make you a sandwich.
That's
don't
right.
ask for a bite of mine.
Yes, there are two different things here. We're talking about one, don't eat off my plate. Okay, I don't care if you come with a plastic spoon out of that plastic baggie and it hasn't touched anything else. That is one thing. But if you eat off my plate or you bring your nasty ass fork, which you've been eating with your whole meal, and then you want to put it in my mouth, I will politely say go to hell.
Carnisha,
Politely.
you got to make a poll.
I have a poll.
Okay.
Let me run
Well,
something
it's
past
about
you.
double dipping. So 86% say yes, double dipping is gross.
Thank you.
Now we need
Thank
this
you.
one. Would you share with your significant other?
Okay.
This is all about double dipping.
Yeah, correct.
You come around
No,
me and
it
try
is
to
not.
double
Yes,
dip
it
in
is.
front of me. I'm slapping whatever you have on your plate out your hand.
You need counseling.
So
Let
if
me
you
run-
guys are, let's just say, having chips and dip, you have to have your own dip.
You
Correct.
damn right.
What? Yes.
Wow.
If
You
I
have, and it'll be over there.
Get your own plate. Put some dip on your plate. Get your own chips and go and stand over there and eat it.
I'll go one step further.
Yeah, separate
we're
rooms.
not even putting our hands in the same area of chips. You better have your chips on your plate.
On your plate.
Yeah, drive.
We're not pulling from the same
Good
pool of
Lord.
chips.
Drive with the dip to a different location while you're at it. Listen,
Why
okay,
not?
Let me run something past you here. Years and years ago, in fact, I think it was in college. I had a girlfriend whose kink was to spit booze into my mouth. Would you allow that?
Wait. Remember
wow.
when I was talking about what's his name, Smokey Robinson last night? You're doing too much. I don't want to know that much. I don't want to know that
No,
much.
statute of limitations. It was decades ago.
Okay.
I don't care when
Hey,
it was.
Mark. Dude, spit on that thing. Is that what happened? Is that what you're having over there, Mark?
That is 100% different.
Oh, that's
that's different.
Yeah.
A
Spit beer in my mouth.
A mouthful of wine is different than Hawk Tua. And if you don't know the difference,
Mark,
I don't
Mark, if you don't know the difference,
how dare
Okay,
you?
we got to take a break.
How
And I know
dare
this
you.
conversation is going to carry over to the hallway, but we're going to come back and finish this on the other
let's
side.
keep it on the air.
Tawala and me, we're right. The rest of y'all are wrong
No,
and y'all
you guys are
nasty.
crazy.
You're
Check
just
yourself into a
nasty.
facility.
No, y'all nasty.
You're
There's
crazy.
a difference, okay? I feel like Donald Trump. Nasty.
There is no way on earth that you are trying my food. It's just not happening. I'm not down with it. I don't want you touching my food. No. You might as well tell me that you want me to lick your
It feels like a reality show.
and dinner. Yeah, no.
Which is like what you're gonna do later.
Exactly. When it gets time to sexuality, and we say, hey, all bets are off. All bets are off.
It's an understanding.
I promise you. I promise you. We go downstairs to eat some ice cream afterwards. Don't stick your spoon in my bowl. Get some nasty.
The ladies,
No.
once you say
Look.
you're not sure, I'm turned off.
Look, that's fine because I'm sure whichever babe I get with, she's got to know. Don't ask Tawala for shit off his plate. Don't ask Tawala for a nary numb thing off my plate.
No woman I've ever
see what
dated
they're saying.
isn't allowed to do that.
Nope. Yeah.
Not one. Not a one. And I've had some looks at me like, what is your fucking problem?
DJ Sam says, I bet you guys schedule your extracurricular activities.
Look, I promise you like this. When it comes time for accurate,
Chris Tennessee says, Tawala.
no, look, I'm trying to tell you, I will eat the.
I appreciate it, Jeff.
I will eat the booty like it's grocery. And I don't care.
But you're not gonna share with
I'm
me.
telling you, but see, to me, that is me performing and going to extracurricular levels to make sure that ass is smacked. But when it comes to food, it's just something to me that again, it's like here's my gum. Why don't you finish?
So
it off?
I guess the
No.
difference is swallowing.
Yeah, absolutely. But see, again, I can go and brush my tongue. I can brush my teeth, all that. I have again, I will put my mouth all over a woman's body, and that's fine.
Creamy one says
that.
a double dip
Look,
standard.
creamy one, I've let the creamy one run down my face. But what I'm telling you is, I'm trying to tell you, don't you ever try to eat off my plate. That's just my thing.
Thank you.
Spoonful of gumbo, oh, that's too much. You can't ask me for shit off my plate. All right?
Okay, I'll tell a true story here.
Okay.
I had sex with a woman, and then afterward, you both hungry, right? We in bed eating, and she had the nerve. How much? To try to put her fork in my plate. I almost pushed her out of bed.
Damn right.
You gotta go home.
Damn right.
You gotta go.
Damn right.
You're not on YouTube with us. Y'all are missing out.
You are missing out.
We have added a new segment where if there's a real hot conversation and it carries over to the break, we'll take you to commercial with us, and we're talking out there with Daniel, and it gets real blue with the humor and the language and everything. It's not meant for public consumption. We learned some stuff about Tawala, maybe too much.
Hey,
we were talking
expected
about
that,
we
though.
keep it real.
Keep it 100.
Yeah.
100 at all times.
And we were having a discussion about whether it started with double dipping. That was the news story where double dipping, not a measurable amount of germs are supposedly transferred in double dipping. So they're saying social stigma aside, it's okay to double dip. And I said, hell no, F that. I don't double dip. I don't allow a woman to take her fork and put it on my plate, which after she's been eating with this, like, no, I'm not going to if she offers me her glass, I'm not going to drink out of glass. Oh, I'll turn it around and drink from the other side. And Mark and Stefan thought like I'm like crazy or insane to use Mark's word. Those are the rules. Now, what I may do in bed, because that's where the conversation went.
Yeah.
You're trying to say that if you put your mouth here, you should have no problem with putting your mouth there. It's not the same because I said when two people have agreed to let down the physical boundaries and then you cross those boundaries, it's an agreement. No means no. All right? And if I say keep your fork out of my freaking plate, no means no.
I just want one little bite. Hey, don't end this relationship. Don't mess around and end this relationship.
No wonder you're single. No wonder.
Hey, look, call it what you want. Call it what you want.
The people in the chat say 70% say they do share food with their significant others. So it really is only y'all two.
No,
everybody else share food.
70% is not 100%.
Right.
But it's enough.
Just because, look, just like my mother said, like, I don't care what the crowd is doing. I need to worry about you. Okay, I worry about me. If all of you say that you want to share food with your partner, you don't mind your partner, your significant other, your spouse eating off your plate, great. Do you? That will never happen with me. And my wife could be listening right now, and she will say, "That's right, it'll never happen with him." Because we always have the conversation, and she'll say, like, "Hey, you want to try some of this?" No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been eating off the plate. No,
I'm all right.
I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. Thank you.
So she does share, or she would.
No, she will offer.
But I'm saying she would though.
She would. And ladies, especially you, Carnesius, in there, if you hear your man say, "Nah, I'm good," that's exactly what he's thinking. Nah, I don't want that. It's been all in your nasty mouth. No.
Well, I don't have that problem.
I'm just all I'm saying.
Be careful. Be careful. Don't tell too much.
If you ever hear your man say, "Nah, I'm all right," it's not because he's not hungry. He might be thinking to himself, "Damn, that looks good."
Yes.
Nah, I'm all right. That means he's just looking at you like, and you do. Here's you.
Here's a true story. My wife will go out and we'll eat whatever she's eating. She'll say, and she's being very polite, "Would you like to try some of this?" And my answer is always the same. Tuala, what do you think the answer is?
No, I'm okay.
Okay,
no, I'm good.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, hypothetical. So let's say you guys go out to dinner and the food gets there and she hasn't eaten it yet, and she offered it to you. Would you take it?
I probably wouldn't. I probably still would, but for different reasons. One, because if our food has just come here, I'm getting ready to eat what I want to eat.
Yeah. Well, okay.
And I want the taste that's going into my mouth.
Correct.
If we are at dinner and what I have looks so good, you say, "Can I try some of that?" Don't pick your fork up and come near me with your weaponized fork.
Oh my God.
I will cut some off and I will put it onto your plate.
So
that is socially acceptable. Okay. Here you go. Here's a portion for you. But don't be in my plate with your grubby hands and your fork trying to get a bite of mine.
Now, if this accidentally happened,
here.
if you inadvertently consumed something like that, would you instantly require like
how can you inadvertently?
Yeah, what am I doing? I'm blind. I can't see what I'm doing.
Did I turn my back and all of a sudden she just licked my whole plate? Like, I mean, what are we talking about?
What is that, Mark?
These things happen.
No, it doesn't happen.
Do you have some sort of high security eating setup where you live? Is it do you have like one of these machines like the Rube Goldberg things where
Mark,
it'll put one bite into your mouth?
Mark, I finish my food. I don't get, oh, I gotta go wash my hands, or oh, let me go do this and leave my food in. No, I finish my food. I'm eating, I finish my food.
I got to interject real quick. Motown is out of control. You have to get on YouTube right now. You have to be part of this conversation. That's the only way I can describe it. There is no way for you to understand how real and legitimate this debate is unless you're seeing us. This is real. It's not for effect. It's not performative in any way. The people in the Motown chat are out of control because they're all over the place with this. This is not like a unified concept. We're not in unity about whether people can just eat off people's plate.
No, they want you to have a mental health intervention right now. Now, if you somehow realize that you've taken a bite off something someone else close to you had been eating, would you require like an immediate Karen Silkwood wire brush and hose scrub down?
I'm putting it in a napkin and spitting it out.
You know what I don't do? I don't go around like parties and things like that and just go, "Oh, what's this?" I'm checking out the scene. When we have parties upstairs and we have those buffet lines, I'm never first in line to get anything. I want to see what everyone's doing first. I always make sure I'm last.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when we have like those
when they have like
parties on the
brunches
floor,
and
the buffets
stuff,
and stuff. Yeah.
I'm never first in line. I want to see what's happening first.
But what could be happening? What are you worried about?
You know what? Double dipping.
Yeah, no,
people trying some, licking their fingers, then going back for more.
But see, that makes sense because people are gross. They don't wash their hands.
People are
gross. See?
No, but come on around, Foosh. Come on around.
No. But
you're making an argument perfectly.
You live with someone and you share fluids. You can't have the same bowl of chips
No.
God,
I want my own.
You're both gonna
bowl.
die alone.
You know what?
Says
I'm
the
fine
unmarried
with it.
one.
That's a good point.
Put a ring on it first, Mark.
Right.
Talk
Well,
all that
that's just,
badness.
nobody wants to marry my student loan. That's the only issue
Oh,
there.
sure.
I'm sure there's other things
All
too,
right.
like sharing food.
Yeah, that's the crux
Oh,
of
my
it. Sharing food.
God, you guys are nuts.
Seriously, certifiable, insane.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
It's
Yes.
a good thing that we have Sam the sex doctor coming in next, because this is probably going to roll into the conversation. So if you're on YouTube or Instagram right now, do not go anywhere. This is out of control, and you have to see it to believe it. It's the whole point of having the YouTube simulcast for moments just like these. In fact, when we go to break, we're going to have more of Mo Unfiltered during the news, and so you get to hear this conversation continue in the hallway. It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM640 live everywhere on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app.
All righty.
There we go.
Look, I get that y'all in the chat think that we're crazy. Some of y'all like blah blah. Look, do what you want. Put your mouth where you want to. That's all you. I'm just telling you. I'll be single till I die if it has to do with you trying to come at my plate. You know, keep your filthy germs like that to yourself. I just don't want it like that. I just don't want it like that.
And I'm not going to try to outdo you, Tuala, but I can be honest with everyone because I've known you for a while, and I hinted at it on the show. I have no problem putting my mouth anywhere, okay? But it's on my terms.
Yes.
Okay? And there's certain times where I'm not going to put my mouth in certain places because I don't know where you've been. I'm talking about before all
Yes,
this.
right.
Before,
Yeah.
I got rules.
Yeah.
And here's a rule, and there's a connection here. Like when I was dating and I saw a woman and she didn't have clean nails,
Oh yeah.
I'm not going there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going there because if you don't have clean nails,
Nothing
you don't
happens.
Your
have,
ass is dirty.
No.
Dirty nails, dirty ass.
Oh my goodness.
Dirty.
No, but I'm
You've
saying-
been getting your ass and your nails
Boundaries.
not
Yeah.
putting your mouth
Yeah.
anywhere down there. That's fine. You step
You
fresh
get
out the
nothing.
shower and you all clean.
It is
I
on
think
it.
on
Right.
it.
There's
On
no
it.
boundaries.
But again, if afterwards you say, babe, I'm hungry, you worn out, I'm famished,
What
and
Spike Lee says?
we eating something, you know what? It's all that. You know, put all women around in that bitch. Swinging around in that bitch. That's no problem. Yeah, no problem. But again, don't put your spoon or your fork near my plate. That's just my rule. That's my rule.
But if she comes to the phone, hey, what you doing with that?
Chips.
Exactly.
The same.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey.
All of that.
Okay, Sam, the sex doctor.
Come join.
Let's come this way, Sam, so you can be seen.
Talk to the people about your point of view.
About
Sharing
Share
foods
food
with a
with a
significant other.
I got kids. I don't get my food is community food at that point. Anything else on my plate.
But here,
But I don't.
You know, it's weird. I too have kids,
Yeah.
and I do not allow my children to come after my plate. Even with my kids, because I watch them eat. My daughter would say, "Daddy, can I have some of that drink?" I would say, "Yes, you can." I give her the drink and say, "You finish that." I'm not taking it back. Why? Because I have witnessed kids when they drink out there. The backwash that happens.
Oh,
it's real.
Backwash.
Backwash. Children
Backwash.
is real. So once I give you
Yeah,
that drink,
yeah,
that's your drink.
Yeah.
That's your drink.
Yeah.
Daddy, here you go. No.
Backwash is
No.
food, yeah.
Can I have some of your pie? Here's a piece of pie for you. Finish
Eric-
that pie. I'm not
Eric
taking
is
the pie
on
back.
your side.
I'm not taking the pie back.
I'll offer my food, not the drink. You see the chunks of the food that I offered in the drink after they take a sip of it.
Yeah.
That's their drink.
Oh, you leave
That's
chunks
your
in the drink, that's your drink.
That's a drink. That's a
That's your
drink.
drink.
And for me, that's what's in my mind when you try to come at my plate, my drink, anything. It's seeing backwash, seeing what that looks like, hearing you cough, but while you come into the I got a tickle in my throat, and now you want to try some of my food? Get your germy ass mouth away from me.
And there's something we left out of this because usually, I can't speak for anyone else. Usually, when people are having sex, it's kind of like an understanding. Maybe you go in the bathroom and clean yourself up. You don't just come home and say, no, okay?
No, you don't want no
You don't
salty
put your
ass.
funky ass in the bed.
You don't want that.
All I know is you eat out of my plate and say, I don't know your mouth, man.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
When I was young and dumb and full of cum, look, in a nightclub, in the car, afterwards, but here's the thing.
In a bathroom.
I'm drunk. I'm drunk out of my mind. I'm drunk out of my mind, and it's like, Wait, yeah, right now? Sure, you go in. But now I'm older and I say, get the fuck out of here.
Hold on.
Out of here.
Man, I
You gotta do a systems check.
I learned that it's important to brush your teeth before every sexual experience.
Damn right. Damn right.
Listen to him. Listen, what we got over here? We got.
What they say in the chat?
Okay, the Cree one here. He has a beard and saying all this.
Yeah.
So particles be getting
And I'm trying to tell you, I have come up from it and have in the beard.
Hey, what's going on, Eric?
You get stuff in the beard. I promise you. That's why you don't go and eat it.
Okay.
That's why you don't eat afterwards.
So here's what we got. Okay.
No ice cream carnation. That's the line.
Lori
But
Clovis.
they can get nasty.
They can, say it again.
They can get nasty. But
Yes. That's
That's
why we're out here talking. We're not on the air talking. We're out here talking.
I'm saying you can get nasty.
Get on the.
No, over here, fool. No, get on the kick so they can see you.
I said they can get nasty, but a bowl of chips. Share the
So Bad Quad asked, when do you guys explain this to your partner?
Exactly. That's
What is that conversation?
No. And I will tell you when.
man.
I remember being out on a date, and we had a whole conversation. We were at TGI Friday. I got a sampler. She got a sampler. I can't remember what it was. She said, "Can I have some?" And that's why I came up with the whole thing of like, yes. I cut some off and put it onto her plate. She was like, how come I can't just? And I said, no. This is the first time I'm like, no, you're not coming into my plate. If you wanted some, you could have ordered some. I will even give you some of mine. But don't be trying to. No, I don't do all that. This ain't Lady in the Tramp. I'm not trying to share.
Thank you.
I'm not sharing no noodle with you.
Riri brought up that scene in the movie Sinners where she goes, okay, I didn't want to go wash up. And he goes, I just want to try this.
And I was thinking the same thing.
Okay, let's talk about that. Come on, Riri, what you think?
No, she walked her funky ass 3 miles. all the way dirty, dusty. I know that shit was tough. And you know what? And
We're going to have a hard time.
KFI AM 640. And if you're not on YouTube right now, shame on you. It is off the chains in the Motown chat with the Momigos, talking about all things sex and sharing food. It's a great introduction for Dr. Sam Zia. The sex doctor is in, and he will now see us. Sam, you participated in that unfiltered commercial break conversation, which we're going to make a regular part of this. What did you make of our conversation?
I love those kind of conversations. I'm glad we get to share the off-air conversations now with viewers on YouTube.
Right.
Because a lot of times the conversations we have off-air obviously are going to be a little more colorful, animated, but really you get more of a deeper perspective on where our heads are at when it comes to the subjects that we were talking about. So please go to the YouTube page and jump in and be a part of the chat. The conversation we just had was hilarious.
Adults only.
I wish I could
Adults
repeat it
only.
for y'all right now.
Yeah, listener discretion advised.
Yes. What do you want to talk about tonight in the world of sex, romance, and relationships?
Well, I was looking. I like looking at different academic studies that come out. That's just me. I'm a nerd. I saw one a couple months ago. It was a study about if there were any behavioral changes based on sex in lab rats who were exposed to radiation in space. And what it found was that radiation exposure in space radiation exposure to lab rats led to female rats having more risk-taking behavior and similar risk-taking behavior in male rats, but they spent more time in deliberation before making choices.
If I understand you correctly, that rats make space radiation will make rats freakier.
Potentially, yeah.
And be willing to do more things.
Take more risks and have their inhibitions pulled down.
It's kind of like, I don't know, some sort of aphrodisiac.
Maybe. Now, they do have a thing in space. Astronaut reported it called the Viagra effect, where being in zero gravity or microgravity led to ease of arousal in men.
That would seem like it would be more difficult to force blood to move in a particular direction when it doesn't have gravity working as it normally would.
Well, our body, if I don't know if you know this, but if we're upside down, we can still get aroused.
I only know that from like being under a pool table, but yeah, okay.
So
I don't know about zero G.
Gravity isn't going to have too much of an effect as far as our ability to get aroused. It may actually increase our ability, like it may actually increase it.
It just seems like the zero G would get in the way of rhythm, motion. Sometimes how can I say this?
Yes.
So I need some sort of resistance to push against, put it that way.
Exactly. That's the big thing here. Now, let's talk about some ideas. First off, we're both really big movie nerds and stuff like that. Can you think of any movies that have had sex scenes in it that were in zero gravity?
Yes, Moonraker.
Thank you. That was one of them that I had on my list. Barbarella was another one. Aside from that, you've had a bunch of scenes that are sex in space that are usually like Captain Kirk on place where gravity is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now to create gravity, you need centrifugal force. If you like,
correct.
Currently, there's nothing, as far as I know, in the space program where they're actively promoting and trying to create centrifugal force to create artificial gravity in space at this moment. So what happens if there's like a giant space asteroid that's coming now and we don't have this gravity and we need to find a way to jump off of this rock and be able to procreate our way into deep space into the next habitable place? So that's where the idea of sex in space becomes actually pertinent. And there's a field of sex studies called space sexology, which I'm very interested in. I almost did my dissertation on this topic. I held off because porn studies was way better. But yeah, what happens if we have to jump off of this planet? And aside from protecting ourselves from the radiation of space, which can totally sterilize us, there's a lot of issues that can happen when you try to procreate in outer space. There was an Australian company that made a suit called the Two Suit. It was a Velcro strap that held a couple together for them to be around, like physically next to each other long enough to be able to have sex.
Kind of like Velcro is always somewhere connected to sex, always.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just me. Never mind.
Depending on various, positions that you're getting
factors.
Into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there have been some attempts from like porn companies. Pornhub tried to crowdsource something where they could actually film a scene in space. It was unsuccessful. Virgin Galactic rejected a $1 million offer to shoot a scene in space. Now, the closest thing that we have come to it is that there was a scene shot in the Vomit Comet, one of those planes that does the up and down where you can simulate zero gravity. So they were only able to get like one single 20-second scene. Not enough to really, do anything fun to. Anyways, so if we don't have, there's also other issues, like as far as like, if you're going to try to have sex in zero gravity, what's going to happen physiologically to the human body?
Let me jump in there. Does it impact the ability of the swimmers to swim?
It does not. They haven't done any so far. No space program in the world is willing to acknowledge whatever experiments that they've done human-wise. Mm-hmm. However, they have been able to have various animals procreate in space. So the ability of semen to find an egg is still present in zero gravity. They've tested it out on animals, and first animal to mate in space successfully was a fish. That was galactic sushi in 1994. Let's see here. Experiments in 1995, not done by NASA, by a foreign space program in 1995, done on lab rats. They found that rats born here on Earth, but they go to space and then have a baby in space. Those babies lose the ability to roll back onto their feet when they're placed on their back. It's like how with cats, they land on their feet. Rats have very delicate spinal columns, and they lose that ability to land on their feet when they're upside down. The part of it is because they lose the spatial awareness because they're so used to being in zero gravity. But when they come back to Earth, those specific rats, when they procreate and they have another lineage, their children end up having some what would be called developmental issues here on Earth. But actually, when you think about it in the context of zero gravity, they may be more optimized to function in space.
It almost sounds like there will be an evolutionary impact from the very first generation of procreation in space for the human species, most likely.
Yeah. Now, this is as far as like you want, not just like sex in space, but procreation in space. Yeah, we're thinking long-term, long-distance traveling. If we're in an emergency and we don't have the ability to get gravity artificially created, this is what our reality is going to be. where if you extend that idea over one generation, it had these developmental issues here on Earth when they came back to Earth. If you have to go generation to generation in space with zero gravity, you're going to see what some of the issues that you see, the effects of weightlessness or microgravity on the human body, diminished bone density, heart muscle starts to lose mass, muscles in general lose mass. Basically, if you extend that over generations, 5, 6 generations, you'll have decreased and diminished bone density and muscle mass. You'll have something that's much more optimized to function in zero gravity and have the bone density to push the buttons that need to be pushed on a spaceship to keep them alive and to procreate.
Well, our muscles only mean something with respect to gravity.
And resistance.
Resistance, yeah.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll have more with Dr. Sam Zia. Are you going to join us in the unfiltered chat in the hallway?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, we've implemented this new segment where when we're during the commercial break and Mark is doing the news, we're unfiltered in the hallway, continuing the conversation, but you got to be on YouTube or Instagram at Mr. Mo Kelly, and you can hear a different type of conversation. It's not for kids. Put them to bed. More in just a moment. KFI AM 640 live on YouTube, live on Instagram, live on the iHeartRadio app. We'll be live in the hallway in just moments. Mark Rana with the news.
Here's the latest from the KFI 24.
It's going to be patchy.
I am curious. Now, what are we saying in the chat? I don't have my glasses on. What's being said in the chat?
Okay.
Asteroids. That's a good one, Creamy.
Is Saturn losing its cock rings?
Oh snap!
Oh snap! Well done. I love it. Well done.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the Uranus joke.
That's the vomit comic porn that they filmed. It's called or the Uranus experiment.
Oh my God. Real question. It would seem like the idea of sex in space is probably far sexier than the reality of sex in space.
Yeah, you'd have to throw at least like a Gallagher style tarp down for all the fluids that are going to go flying.
And fluid flowing in slow motion just everywhere. You'll be able to just push them with just the sweat alone. Now, because you are trapped in outer space, if there is a disease transmission in space, right? Does it get worse in space?
I wouldn't think.
I thought they were. Okay. They've gone through all the tests where they're not sterilized.
I mean, they could, but what if you're up there? You're not drinking enough water. You get some type of yeast.
I've been dehydrated.
Space yeast.
You don't want that space. Because I always think like you're up there on the space station. You don't want to get freaky at least once you're up there, even if you got your gravity.
Like Channel 9.
Like unzip your suit. Like,
I just see how the mechanics of sex would work in space.
This is my biggest, right? It's all physics.
Yeah, at play here. You bounce off of each other.
Now you got to
say you mentioned before, like for example, the pitch and yaw correction from the jets.
Yeah,
they're very, very, very minimal. Yeah, right. Not very much unlike ejaculation.
Yeah. Well, no.
So if you ejaculate, does that send you back?
So you can come and go
at the same time.
See, now your shit is coming out.
Yeah, Soviet space station. You don't bust nut but you.
But if you have on gravity boots.
Well,
you lock down on and still. Okay, look, you come around here, bend over, lock your boots in, lock it up, pop, and you just. Yeah, that would be ill. That would be ill. Almost like
around.
I mean, when you're not spin around.
Everybody's There's that. So the James Bond idea of sex in space, that was all just BS.
In the blanket over that's like
thrust.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like physics. It's like a nude beach. It's like it's sexier. It's
classroom conversation.
Yeah.
I would love to have this conversation with you.
I don't think I would want to have Sex in Space. I mean,
that was my idea. I wanted to have a podcast called Sex in Space. I wanted to interview Neil deGrasse Tyson about sex.
All right, let's put out Neil deGrasse Tyson, y'all. We want Neil.
Look, we know you're open to wild conversations. You debate with folks about flat Earth shit all the time. So this can't be, above the fray.
We could do a thing. All the things that you can't do in space. What's our chat saying?
All right, 1 minute.
1 minute.
What is
I got you, Rover.
Yeah. I would love to say it.
Jason, new meaning to lock and load.
See, this is real.
Yeah,
the whole concept is the things that people want to ask. I want to hear from actual astronauts who, even if you're not having sex, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're up there, you've been trapped in this capsule forever, and you're feeling frisky. Do you go to your pod can you masturbate?
I'm guessing you're going to have a towel close by. I've seen what they do for their toilets, and I'm sure you can just do the same thing for that.
Yeah.
The premium outfit. Astronauts. astronauts.
Of course.
We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And yes, it's Mo Kelly After Dark. We're having some adult conversations in the hallway during the break. And the only way that you can participate, you can see them and hear them, is to log on to YouTube at Mr. Mo Kelly. Make sure that you like and subscribe so it's easier to find the show when you come back. And we expect you to come back. And we're right in the middle of a conversation with the sex doctor, Sam Zia, who is in the last segment, Sam, we were talking about some of the realities of sex in space, some of the scientific studies which have been conducted with regard to animals and procreation, sexual behavior in space. How do you think, to the best of your knowledge, how do you think this is going to be utilized in the future, in the near term? Because we have privatized space exploration. We go above the Kármán line, not all that often, but you have Bezos, you have SpaceX, where now regular people like you and me, if we had $500,000 or so, we could go to space as well. How long before space is commercialized, do you think, where we'll have the Mile High Club and we'll have the 62 Mile High Club?
I'm guessing it won't be too long. It's not lost on me that Elon named his company SpaceX.
And Jeff Bezos' ship looks like
it's like the scene from Austin Powers, really. With
it does,
ship. It's fantastic.
It's a little on the nose, if you want to use that term, but yes, it's obvious.
But I think we are on the doorstep of it, because as much as people like to shame sex and sexuality, it still sells. And there's going to be people who visually want to see what it will look like. So I'm getting the feeling, I mentioned the porn company that created the zero gravity scene. It was a 20-second scene filmed in the Vomit Comet. And it was called the Uranus Experiment Part 2, in case you want to look it up.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
So that's the thing, is that there's already a market for it. More and more people are going, as technology develops and more commercial exploration into space happens, you're going to see that get sexualized. It's just going to happen. And it does kind of cater to the idea of, if we do have to, the fantasy of having to escape the planet and procreate and, keep the species going over an extended period of time. I mean, they make bad movies about this, but there's a couple of decent films in there as well.
We're having fun with this, but by and large, America is reticent to have any type of real conversations about sex. We are an uptight society. We are an uptight nation, and you don't know how uptight we are until you travel, until you see the world. Go to Europe for a while. They're not 1/10 as uptight as we are, from what you see on TV to what you see on a beach, a topless beach. Do you think that America will catch up to the rest of the world in the discussions at any point?
It's not going to do it necessarily publicly, considering how much sex and sexuality is shamed, but it's going to be done in private. before the internet, you had a lot of people, just keeping to themselves and keeping their kinks to themselves. After the internet, those kinks had their own communities created where they get to reach out and touch each other. And they're very happy to do so.
I heard what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. So now you're going to have that same idea where people are there's going to be a community for it, no matter what, and they're going to be able to reach out and touch one another, whether it's going to be something that they publicly cheer about and say, this is something that I'm all about, and they make it a big spectacle, or if they just keep it in the privacy of their own home.
Do you think that we are uptight as a nation? Because I wouldn't say that America is more religious than other nations. You have nations which are actual theocracies, but I would say a place like Italy is more religious than the United States. In any number of European countries, even England is more religious than the United States. To what would you attribute our uptightness?
It does go down to like old-fashioned Puritanism and shame. A lot of times, and you'll see it, and not just out here in America. It's the same with a lot of religions and countries that are, base their foundation off of religions. Or a lot of times will use the shame of sex and sexuality to control a population. And to make it like a great example of that is Iran, where they use sex and sexuality as a deep sense of shame surrounding it so that they can control the behaviors of people, say, for example, who are gay, where, the options for them are very limited. Either, get out of the country, escape the country, get sexual reassignment surgery, or stay in hiding, or pick, or basically pick how you're going to die.
You make a great point there, because sometimes we limit the conversation of sex to the physical manifestation and expression of sexual behavior, but it's much more than that. It's how you identify, it's how you present yourself, it's how you view yourself in the world. Am I wrong?
Well, yeah, no, it's how you walk through the world. People tend to forget, and with the amount of shame religion throws on sex and sexuality, without it, we're not here.
If not for the kink of our parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have, we got Father's Day coming up, and, I want to talk, I'll talk more about like great ways. Like for me, the thing that led to my birth was one of the greatest pickup lines of all time from my dad to my mom. So that's going to be something in projecting forward for Father's Day.
Oh, yeah. Does everyone know the story behind their conception?
Oh, I do.
I know the story of mine. Stephen, do you know yours?
I don't know mine.
Mark, do you know yours?
I don't want to.
I mean, it's not. I don't think it's going to be like a Richard Pryor story. Conceived in a brothel, were you?
Nobody was set on fire. No.
Okay. I can't reach Tuala. He's out there working on the podcast. I know my conception story, and I think everyone should know their conception story.
Why?
Yeah. Because it's a part of history of who you are. I think about the infinitesimal unlikelihood of you, the physical manifestation of you, that sperm, that egg coming together, the unlikelihood, the odds against the Mark that we're seeing here today. Yeah, I think everyone should know the story behind that.
No, I think not. It might not be great. It's not all.
But I think it's great that you're here. I'm being serious. And I think that's a part of the unlikelihood of any of us and the outward manifestation of our personalities. Look, I mean, I have an older sister. Same parents, did the same created a person, nothing like me in any way. It's like the Punnett Square. There are a billion different combinations we could have come into this world as, but we came with what we are right now.
No, when you think about the odds that you exist, it's pretty mind-blowing.
Oh, absolutely. I just think that Mark might be a little worried about having like that mental picture in his head, because that's like a cold shower.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about no, I don't. Look, my parents only had sex twice. It was when my sister was conceived and when I was conceived. That's it. That was the only function of sexual relationship, in sex in their relationship.
I love that. I love that reasoning so much.
Yeah, that's it. There's no other reason for them to have sex.
No, of course not.
On that note, Sam, why don't you just hang around for a second? Just hang out with us. You got some time?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to talk about cannabis when we come back with the sex doctor, Sam Zia. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're still live on YouTube. We're still live on Instagram. We're still live on the iHeartRadio app. Instagram, YouTube, and the iHeartRadio app. I've always told you about my misgivings with cannabis, and I usually hear from people in response, well, alcohol's worse. Alcohol does that. And I said, my misgivings are not connected to one being healthier. It's just that it's not my thing. I don't like the smell of it. If someone's smoking it, I had tried an edible once upon a time. It didn't do anything for me. I don't get anything from it. But for those who want to keep telling me about the quote-unquote safety and non-addictive properties of weed or cannabis, I just want to forward this on to you. There's a new study from the University of California, San Francisco, and it has determined, long story short, that whether you smoke cannabis or use edibles, chronic use is bad for your heart. I'm not a doctor, but if you told me that you're putting a foreign substance carcinogen in your lungs like smoke, if you were to smoke cannabis, yeah, that's probably going to impact your cardiovascular system. Not a doctor, but that makes sense to me. That is not hard to figure out. But when you say edibles, it does raise my eyebrows like, okay, I may not have considered that. The findings published just yesterday in JAMA Cardiology. And tell us about JAMA real quick.
Oh yeah, Journal of American Medical Association. Yeah, that if it's published in there, it's been peer reviewed. It's legit.
It's legit.
It's
okay.
legit.
Okay. Well, this study published suggests that long-term marijuana use can seriously impact your blood vessels in a way that's similar to tobacco. Makes sense? Researchers found that people who regularly use cannabis, regardless of how they consumed it, had roughly half the blood vessel function compared to non-users. It constricts your blood vessels, long story short. And of course, then that increases your risk of heart attacks and high blood pressure, or conversely, high blood pressure, which may lead to heart attacks. The study brought together 55 seemingly healthy individuals between 2021 and 2024. All participants were regular cannabis users, either smoking or consuming THC products at least 3 times a week for a year. None of them used nicotine. So that was a variable where they could isolate just cannabis use. Beyond the decreased blood vessel function, researchers found that marijuana smokers also showed changes in their blood that could damage the cells lining blood vessels. Those who primarily use edibles, however, didn't show those same changes. I'm not a doctor. I'm definitely not a sex doctor. But we have long had like a correlation in use between edibles, alcohol, and sex.
Oh, yeah. A good friend of mine, actually, is Ashley Manta. She's one of the foremost experts on sex and sexuality and cannabis use. And she found that for her, it was something that she was, prior to that, inorgasmic, and like a lot of her feelings were rooted in anxiety and stuff like that. And she'll openly discuss this stuff. And anxiety based on several different factors. And what smoking did was make her not have that focus on the anxiety. Her anxiety symptoms diminished, and she started to actually get pleasure out of sex and really enjoy it more. The thing is, I'd like to see more about the study because one of the things that you associate with cannabis use is stagnation, just wanting to sit on the couch and not do anything except eat some chili Fritos. And that, which sounds great right now. I'm actually pretty hungry. But that's the thing is you're going to have, I want to see how much of that is related to stagnation. Because a lot of times people who, I know plenty of people who incorporate cannabis use into their physical, like into their exercise routine and stuff like that. But I want to see what the actual other health issues that may have existed for these people.
Right. There's a difference between someone who leads a sedentary lifestyle, who's added cannabis into their diet, if you will, their daily ingestion habits, and someone who's maybe a high-performing athlete and also introduces it.
Yeah, I'd like to see if there was any further, anything more in depth in that study to account for that. Because you can say you have heart issues, but could that be because you're more sedentary, more stagnant because you're smoking more and more marijuana? I don't know. I need to go further into that study.
Charger 55 in Motown with the Momigos, he says, talking about marijuana, it's a plant, all natural. And I have to remind people, just because something is natural doesn't mean that it is safe and meant for consumption. Cocaine is unnatural. Alcohol, the fermentation of fruit is quote unquote natural.
So is tobacco.
So is tobacco, right? It does not mean that it is healthy for you. And Charger 55 said it also has helped many people. Well, so has chemo. Just because it's helped you doesn't mean that it's not also harmful to the body.
Yeah. A line I like to use when it comes to any substance use really is a line from the movie Drunken Master with Jackie Chan. A boat can float in water, but it can also sink in it.
That is almost profound.
Respect to the Drunken Master reference.
When we learn more about cannabis, do you think, and I know this may not be specifically your field, but I think there is a connection to your field. What do you think the future may be for cannabis as it relates to our sexual health?
It could be something for people, like, say, who have PTSD and may have some sexual trauma. It may be used for people. I've seen people who have gone through sexual trauma who have incorporated cannabis into their activities, and it makes it so that they are much less in their head and more present in their body.
Mr. Reefer 999 goes back to a previous conversation we had talking about double dipping and sharing things. Mr. Reefer 999 says, if you can't share food, I doubt you'll share the joint. Correct. The whole idea of passing the joint is like, I don't know how many lips have been on that thing. That ain't cool. You're correct, Mr. Reefer 999. That's accurate.
Is that his given name at birth?
Probably.
That's the name that he chose for himself, at least for the chat.
Oh, okay. I get it.
I don't know if his mama named him. Let's name him Reefer.
Mr. Reefer.
Mr. Reefer.
No, as a child, he was Reefer, but now he's adult. Mr. Reefer.
Little Reefer.
Yeah, that's how he identifies. That's his pronoun.
Little Roach.
Little Roach.
I don't know what to say. You guys are just weird. I tell you. You want to mix in sex and passing a joint. Show's just off the rails. Off the rails. But let me ask you this one more question before we go. In the way that we have, if you could look at marijuana, we have become more comfortable with the idea of use of marijuana, not only in a medicinal sense, but obviously in a recreational sense. We have more and more states which have legalized it. You think that's going to be the same as far as sex and in the way that Amsterdam has a red light district? Will America ever get there?
You got parts of this country where it's already there. Nevada has,
That's true.
You've got brothels over there. You've got sex work is something that is going to be there. How much you want to criminalize, shame, and stigmatize the people who engage in it, that's something the government doesn't have to engage in. That's something that the government doesn't have to, sanction the discrimination against people who are just trying to make a buck.
That day ain't gonna be today, though.
No,
it's gonna be a while
not
before we
anytime
get there.
soon.
It's later with Mo Kelly. I don't even have a final thought tonight. You come in, you think you're gonna have a certain type of show, and it goes in a different direction. My final thought would have been way too serious and just way too much of a downer for this show. This show is just great. It's incredible. Mr. Reefer 999 says, "Ding dong with this crew, love it." Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Reefer, as well. B1 in the Motown chat says, "Smoke weed every day."
Just like the song.
Nate Dogg.
That's right. Eric Lasardo says, "Pass the Dutchie on the left-hand side." He's it.
I was singing that.
Yep. It's later with Mo Kelly. We're still live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. We'll check in with George Norrie, who probably wants no part of this conversation.
Ooh.
None at all. Mark Ronner has the news. A show like tonight is going to be a regular occurrence. We're going to be talking in the hall. It's going to be unfiltered. It's going to be raw, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But you have to just join the party. Make it that easy. Coming up in just a few moments will be Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, who joins me right now. Good evening, sir.
Mr. Kelly, you're not kidding. It is raw, isn't it?
Yo, did you get to check out some of it?
I heard a little bit of you.
All right. I hope I didn't run you off.
I'm gone. I'm out of the studio.
What's coming up tonight, George?
I'm not telling you.
Well, damn. I guess this is going to be a short conversation then.
I'll be on in seconds.
So we'll just have to listen and find out.
You got it.
All right. The show is coming up in just a few moments. George is boycotting having a conversation with us. Maybe we offended him, but Coast to Coast AM.
No, he's got jokes, man.
I know. Oh, no. He's a funny guy. And this is something that I always throw in Mark's face because George and I have hung out, gone to lunch together. George is conversationally funny in ways that I don't think people know from just listening to him on the air. They get glimpses of it when we have our crosstalk, but usually during the show, he's a little more buttoned up. But when he's not buttoned up, funny dude. Funny dude.
Well, you keep teasing me with three of us going out to lunch.
Well, okay, we have to set it up. Tomorrow's Friday, so I won't be able to ask him. But he's listening. So, George, we have to set up a lunch date. You, me, and Mark while you're in L.A.
Yeah, George, we're way overdue. Let's make this happen.
We have to figure out how long he's going to be in L.A. and then maybe go get some good food and have Mark pay.
Okay, just pump the brakes there. Pump the brakes there. Of the three of us, I think I'm least likely to be able to afford to pay.
That's okay. You can wash dishes.
Now, are these liquid lunches? Do you get to see George get a little tipsy?
No, we actually eat.
Well, you can do both.
I don't know if George drinks. I don't know that he does.
According to the Momigos, he does.
Well, I hope he does.
I'm just saying I don't know. Yeah, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that.
Get him back on the phone.
I don't think we can. I think he's getting ready for his show.
That's pretty funny the way he stiff-armed you right there.
Oh, sure did.
that was.
And it's like he wasn't kidding. He's like, no, I'm not telling you.
I'm not telling you.
I'm not telling you.
And he doesn't have to either.
No, he does not. It's like, what am I going to say? It's like, hey, tell me what's on your show.
Yeah, what's iHeart going to do? Put him on probation?
Right.
Yeah.
It's George freaking Nori.
Yeah.
He wins. Tomorrow night, we will be playing Name That Movie Cult Classic. We will not have a theme to the best of my knowledge. There will be a Rana report. I don't know what it's going to be on. I don't know that Mark knows what it's going to be on.
Well, here's the deal. The new Karate Kid movie comes out, and I have absolutely no interest in that. None. My nostalgia requirements for that were met long ago. I'm Karate Kidded out. You've already seen that movie too, right?
Yes. And let me just say this. Let me give my down and dirty review. Hopefully will not impact Mark Runners. I love all things Karate Kid. The Karate Kid 1, 2, and 3, written by the same guy. Karate Kid 2010, written by the same guy. Robert Mark Kamen, I believe his name is. Cobra Kai, all 65 episodes, written by this guy. This movie, Karate Kid Legends, written by Robert Mark Kamen. You would think that they would have that going for them on the back end of the success of Karate Kid Legends. Continuity, saying someone who gets the series, understands the series, understands what the fans want. I can say unequivocally, this movie is hot garbage.
Well, I'm not wasting my time then. There's a pretty promising looking, hopefully entertaining old movie.
I've seen it. This is what I will say about Karate Kid Legends before we go, and it's not a spoiler, really. Ralph Macchio is only in the third act of the movie.
How is that even possible?
Thank you. Because it's advertised like he's a real big part of the movie. Oh, you rushing me out? Oh, I guess the show's over. Okay, KFI 640, we're live everywhere at iHeartRadio app. Good night.
What the hell is going on? Well, we're about to tell you.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Non-comic